This episode is brought to you by Nespresso and Samra Origins by the Weekend Coffee Collection.
Introducing Samra Origins. My collaboration with Nespresso is a connection to my roots, to my mother, Samra. Coffee that hits the right notes. It transports you. Crafted with unique notes and bold, soaring flavors. Experience a taste that moves you. Nespresso and Samra Origins.
Discover more at Nespresso.com.
I was deep in it, gaming on Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7. Unfolding the screen made it twice as big and so immersive, I kinda lost myself. Might have trolled a little too close to the sun. Someone in the chat told me to touch grass, so I took my Z Fold 7 outside and kept playing. Still won, got a tan, and a nice little reset. Powerful processor, realistic graphics, you stay locked in, streak stays alive. Can your phone do that?
The new Galaxy Z Fold 7. Get yours at Samsung.com.
Welcome to Nature Pact podcast.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Today we are speaking with Doug Willmore from World Tree. Tell us, Doug, what is World Tree?
You know, Wendy Burton, our founder, founded World Tree. She'd heard about a species of tree at a timber conference. She was a financial advisor, and was overwhelmed with the natural benefits of this particular species. She knew we needed to grow more trees. We were running out of North America, Europe. The entire world is losing tree cover every year. And so she started a company to commercialize and grow, the first one ever really at scale in North America to grow the Paulownia tree. That's the botanical name. Empress Splendor is kind of the natural name. But the unique things about this species, it's the fastest growing hardwood tree in the world, produces beautiful hardwood lumber at the end. When I say fastest growing, meaning within 8 to 10 years, we'll have a tree that's 20 meters tall, half a meter or more in diameter. And again, it produces really beautiful lumber. And then here's the most amazing thing. You harvest it and it regrows from the stump. It will do that for 5 generations. So it's truly renewable, regenerative lumber. It's the perfect kind of tree to farm because it's very friendly, very benign, non-invasive, very friendly to the soil, things like that. And then we've also, which we'll get into, we paired it with helping small farmers, so that we've created a business and a model that really makes an impact on so many levels.
Is it climate dependent? I mean, you can probably grow it in California, I would assume, but can you do it in Finland?
Yeah. Depending on the genotype you're growing, you can grow it all over. There's actually some great labs in Europe, in Germany, Bulgaria, others that have developed some really great genotypes that do well in really cold climates. Just with the shorter growing season, it will take longer to harvest, maybe 14 or 15 years instead of 8 or 10. I mean, it's unbelievable. We get, because we grow exclusively in the southeastern U.S., Costa Rica, Mexico, Guatemala, we like really long growing seasons, places where we don't have to irrigate, no fire risk, things like that. But, we get 30 feet of growth in the first year in Mexico and Costa Rica.
That sounds like bamboo.
Yeah, it does. It's interesting you bring it up because that's a great comparison in some ways. 40 years ago, the industry was worth $0, basically. It's an $80 billion industry right now. And the main reason was because it was more sustainable. People wanted a product that was more sustainable than what it was replacing. Bamboo still has a pretty heavy environmental footprint. Man, it's a lot better using that than Brazilian cherry out of the rainforest or something like that. Bamboo's not a wood, it's a fiber, but still it's a great comparison. And it's, it's invasive because once you plant it, it's tough to get rid of. And so we really love what we're doing. We're up to 7,000 acres now of growth, the largest grower in North America, Central America, South America, and looking to scale even more from this point onwards.
How do you kind of kind of capture the value. Do
Yeah.
you kind of have everything in-house,
Yeah.
buy the land, plant the trees,
Yeah.
make the, I don't know, the wooden furniture out of it, or what's the business
Yeah.
model?
So this is the unique thing, and it's one of the really great things that Wendy and her partner Kathy Key did. And I was recruited 5 years ago to really help scale the company, and we've really grown a lot. But the really cool thing they did, they partnered with small farmers. So we raise capital every year, retail capital from small investors, can be large, but typically not institutional capital. And we raise it every year. It goes into planting trees. We partner with small farmers. They put up the ground, the day-to-day labor. We supply the trees, the oversight. We oversee harvesting, milling, selling, things like that. Then we share the revenue. And so we raise money every year to do that. We've got 375 small farmers now involved. And it's really amazing because they'll make upwards of, $40,000 or $50,000 per acre profit when we harvest. That's in 8 or 10 years. Yeah, the average profit for a U.S. farmer last year was $1 per acre. Farms need help. Farmers need help worldwide, not just in the U.S.
Absolutely.
I mean, 80% of the world's food comes from small farms. And so we love the fact that we've given away for small farmers to actually build more wealth, more revenue, to help their soil. Almost all of our farmers, especially in Costa Rica and Mexico, intercrop. So they don't just grow trees, they grow trees with legumes, with peppers, with coffee, with a host of other, crops. And then as the trees grow in more shade, they'll change some of the crops out to shade-loving crops and things like that. So it's a really, really cool. Anyway, we're really proud of the model. And, we get larger institutions, larger banks, Wall Street banks, think that have wanted to make investments. And one of the things they've told us is, we love what you're doing. This is really great, but we don't really trust the small farmer piece. Can you get rid of that? And, it's what's the old saying? Find me a lever long enough and a fulcrum and I can move the world. The special piece of this isn't just, the fact that Wendy took this risk on of, I'm going to commercialize this species that no one had done in this area, because you have to develop protocols and do R&D and all that stuff. The special piece of it was to do it with small farmers. That's the fulcrum. That's the lever, So we've raised about $18 million in capital over the 9 years that we've been planting. That's produced more than $300 million of tree assets, timber assets that are in the ground right now.
And also this $400 to $500 per acre per, of course, 10 years.
Yeah.
It's still 40 to 50 times more than they get from the, farming the agricultural goods.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
I can understand why Wall Street is interested.
Yeah, well, you see, though, if we didn't have the small farmer involved, most of that money would be going into buying property or leasing property or whatever. So it's a little bit like, it's one of the things we love, helping small farmers. It's one of the genius things about the program. And we've learned a lot over time about how to pick the right farmers, the best farmers, things like that, so they're really successful, because we want them to succeed. And the overall success of the program really matters. That's one of the things, as I have people ask me for advice on how has World Tree gotten to where it's gotten, I said, look for your leverage point. Look for how can you take $1 and multiply it into 20. Because we really believe in partnering our way to the top, not you've got to do it all yourself, or you have to own everything you do, that there's value in spreading around what you're doing so that you're doing it together as opposed to trying to do it yourself. Yeah.
If you thought goldenly breaded McDonald's chicken couldn't get more golden, think Golder! Because new Sweet and Smoky Special Edition Gold Sauce is here. Made for your chicken favorites.
At participating McDonald's for a limited time.
Hey, business owners, we know you know the importance of maximizing every dollar. With the Delta SkyMiles Reserve Business American Express card, you can make your expenses work just as hard as you. From afternoon coffee runs to stocking office supplies and even team dinners, you can earn miles on all your business expenses. Plus, you can earn 125,000 bonus miles for a limited time through October 29th. The Delta SkyMiles Reserve Business Card. If you travel, you know. Minimum spending requirements and terms apply. Offer ends October 29th, 2025.
Exactly. How do you grow from that 375 small farmers? Because I'm sure in the world there are 375,000 small farmers who could be interested in additional income sources.
Yeah, first of all, we do focus on the absolute best growing areas where we get the best returns. So I imagine over time we'll move to colder climates. But right now we focus on places without fire risk, without drought risk, so we don't have to irrigate. We stay away from coastal areas so we don't have hurricane issues. And then we like long growing seasons. So we have 375 small farmers. We add about 50 per year to each program as we raise money. We have a waiting list of really highly qualified small farmers who want to be part of our program. And our biggest limiter is always capital. We raise the capital ourselves. Both in the U.S., it's called a Reg D, financial instrument, and then also crowdfunding. We're on the crowdfunding platform every year. It's easy for people to find us. We have a lot of people that invest. One of the reasons they do it is not only, hey, this isn't a donation, it's an investment. And when Wendy founded World Tree, and this is just one point I want to make clear, it was really important to her to make this a for-profit company. She thought, and I agree too, that we had to show people that you could produce an impact and produce returns at the same time, that they're not mutually exclusive. That's sort of a false choice that capitalism has given us, that you've got to choose impact or returns. You can't have both. So we really specifically wanted to make sure that to show people that you can have both. You could do both, and they're not mutually exclusive. And so we have people that invest in us to get the return, but many people invest to say, hey, I'm offsetting my own personal carbon footprint. Because investing in 1 acre of growing trees, and they invest the money, they've offset their family's carbon footprint for the next 10 years, and then they get 5 or 6x their money back, and farmers are making money, and, things like that. So that's really was the beautiful part of what Wendy and Kathy created, that we've really gotten down, and we think we can. Well, we average about we have 7,000 acres now. We add about maybe 600 or 700 acres a year. We could easily do 3,000 or 4,000 acres a year if we raised enough capital, I think. So it's a really cool vehicle that allows people to make a difference and get returns at the same time.
One more question about the business model.
Yeah.
Where does the money actually come into the system? Is it so that the farmers sell the trees and pay back your original investment?
So we take investment dollars in. That money is used to find small farmers, to do the soil testing, to help everything that's needed, pay for the plant material, pay for our forestry staff out in the field to help them, to oversee them for 8 to 10 years. Then we harvest, mill, and sell the lumber. We're doing our first harvest of our fields next year, so the first ever. Right now, the wood we use to help build the market and get to manufacturers to test comes from very small independent growers. There's people that have planted 15 or 20 acres or 30 that, President Jimmy Carter, visionary that he was, took 15 acres of his peanut farm 20 years ago, planted them in Polonia. They grew to maturity, and he didn't really know what to do with them. I mean, he knew this was a really great species, very friendly, fast growing. Someone put him in touch with us, and we met him. We purchased his trees, harvested, and now, I mean, sadly, he's passed away, but his trees are regrowing, and we actually have that lumber, and it was used for his signature line of guitars that have been made and sold, and for furniture and things like that. So we buy independent lumber like that, harvest it, sell it, and we harvest our first fields next year, which we're really excited about. The biggest thing we've seen in the market, the biggest issue we have is lack of supply, as we just don't have enough supply. There's a real hunger out there for more sustainable products. And then the other thing, you don't really read about this, Tarmo, on the front page of the paper or whatever. There are massive climate change shortages in wood supply chains showing up that you don't necessarily read about, but, western red cedar in the United States, it's on its way to extinction. Redwood is on its way to extinction. Ash, which is one of the preferred woods of most guitar makers around the world, it's on its way to extinction. And so we need a new kind of wood that we can grow quickly and that's friendly to the environment to actually fill some of these shortages that are only getting worse year by year by year.
Absolutely.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Are your business expenses playing hide and seek? With Uber for Business, the small spends that slip through the cracks, like rides and meals, go right where you need them. Because it integrates with leading expense platforms, you can say goodbye to surprise costs, missing dollars, or chasing receipts. Everything's track downable. Uber for Business. Make small steps that make a big impact. Learn more at uber.com/small steps.
The fundraising side. I mean, you mentioned that you raise it yourself. You also do crowdfunding. How could you grow it 10x to actually reach that 3,000 or 4,000 hectares of new acres?
That's a very good question. If I could answer that. No, I'll tell you several things.
I've been in this business for a while.
Really good. So we are talking to we're, in deep conversations with an impact fund that wants to really double our funding just in one fell swoop, that they're really focused on social impact. They're one of the few funds that loves the small farmer piece of it. As opposed to seeing it as a risk, they see it as a benefit. So I think that's one thing. I think we continue to look for ways that we can get better at raising capital. And I think one of the things we've seen this year, we've started to advertise a little bit in Europe, and just an amazing response from Europeans, I think, who recognize climate change as a real issue. And then the third thing, we're also developing larger projects with institutions that don't involve small farmers. So we're developing that. So you'd say World Tree's the farmer. And those would be, we don't monoculture anything. So those would be 2,000 or 3,000 acres, for example, of trees. And I think the first projects that are designed in Costa Rica include bananas, plantains, watermelon, squash, preserving native forests, things like that. So they're really beneficial for the local soil and biodiversity, really beneficial for the local economy, but then also produce really great returns for investors. Yeah, the key part of our business model, because we get requests all the time for, hey, we just want to grow wood. We don't want any of this other crop stuff. And for us, it's important to rebuild biodiversity on a particular footprint. The second thing that we get requests for, because there's, for example, in Europe and China, this tree is grown successfully for the commodities market, pulp, paper, pellets, things like that. I mean, you can see, you grow it, you harvest in 5 years, you get a lot of biomass. It goes into those commodity markets, and then it regrows, and you do it again. It regrows, you do it again. We could get requests for that all the time, which we turn down, because the goal for us is to have the carbon from the wood sequestered in these high-value, long-lasting products. You know, we've planted enough right now, our 7,000 acres, to offset the annual carbon footprint of Boulder, Colorado. And, you know, we kind of look at it, we surprised ourselves when we realized that, like, hey, just a little old world tree and some small investors and small farmers, look what you can do while producing something of real value. So, yeah, I think it's really possible out there to continue to scale as we grow into different areas, but also to continue to demonstrate to people that you can make an impact and produce positive returns at the same time.
How much do you have to do with the carbon markets? Do you actually sell some carbon credits or work on it?
Yeah.
What's your role in that side?
So we're a real believer, and I mean, I know there's a real debate about carbon credit markets, but we're a real believer in anything that can bring more revenue into nature-based projects to green projects is a good thing. We don't sell any carbon credits for we call this our eco-tree program, our small farmer program. The number one reason is people who have invested in it. Let's say it's people like yourself, because I think the minimum investment this year is only $1,200. So someone who's invested in it, we polled our investors. There's almost 2,000 now. The vast majority, one of the reasons they invested was to offset their carbon footprint. So while we could legally generate carbon credit from this 7,000 acres, it would be disingenuous and unethical to do that from our point of view, because someone like yourself planned on retiring that carbon benefit yourself, as opposed to then go sell it to somebody, go sell it to Delta Airlines or something like that. That's like, not many people know this. Tesla makes a ton of revenue off of selling carbon credits. And so someone who's owned a Tesla and bought a Tesla in the past, thinking, look at this great thing I'm doing, the benefits of that vehicle was actually sold to someone else, the environmental benefits. So we want to avoid doing that. And our investors like knowing that they've offset their own carbon footprint. Or we had someone do it for a small business. We have people do it for their families or for their stock portfolio. They'll calculate it and then, retire it. And so, we allow you to keep those yourself, don't sell them. The larger projects that we develop with institutions will definitely generate carbon credits. In fact, one of the reasons the institutions are investing is for the benefit of getting that carbon offtake and things like that.
Absolutely. And logical. Wanted to ask you about how can people get involved? How can either investors or farmers get involved? You said you have a long waiting list already of the farmers to join. But, if people become interested listening to this, what should they do?
So if they're a farmer, if they're in the southeastern U.S. or Costa Rica or Mexico, feel free to go to our website, worldtree.eco. And if you want to invest, also we have a round that's live right now that you can go to worldtree.eco and easily see how you can invest just with a credit card, and that's how we raise a couple $1 million every year that goes right into planting trees on small farms. And you can see all the information about the program from our website. We'll answer questions and anything like that. But we're really excited to get new people involved year over year over year.
Good stuff. Thank you so much, Doug, for your time today.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's a pleasure. I appreciate it.
With a major selection of the looks your kiddos love, starting at just $4 in the Walmart app, a new school year means a stylish new them. Who knew? Find skater skirts and Crocs that say, I'm casual but cool. Sparkly sneakers that say, it's my classroom, you're just learning in it. And preppy polos that say, I'm the teacher's pet, even if they're mommy's menace at home. Find their favorite styles starting at just $4 in the app. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new.
If you like the show, subscribe and leave a good rating on the podcast platform of your choice. It would mean a world to us.
Electric acid.